Hello, my name is Sarah Gentry, and today we are going to talk about my origami lamp that I made for my STEM 382 class, and reasons why I thought that was a great idea as my project. Here is my origami lamp right here, and you can see it's got the classic origami look to it. Not too complicated, pretty simple, and we're going to go over some of the basic functions that this lamp is going to perform for us and why I think those are important to this project. And the first function that it performs that we're going to talk about is the fact that it's battery operated. You can see right here in the bottom there's actually a battery, and I can take that out and show you because it's attached by a magnet, which we'll talk about later. It's just a 9-volt battery, and it's held in there at the bottom by itself, which is pretty cool. The fact that it's battery operated means that it can be taken anywhere. It's portable. If you feel like taking it outside, you could take it outside, but I don't recommend leaving it outside because if it gets wet, it's made out of paper, so it won't last very long. And the electrical connections as well would rust if it was left in any high humidity state. So the fact that it is battery operated means that it is able to be transported from room to room if you're using it indoors. So if you want it on your nightstand, you can put it on your nightstand, or if you have a shelf on the wall, you can move it to the shelf on the wall, and maybe there's no outlet near your shelf on the wall. Well, it doesn't really matter because it's battery operated. So that makes it pretty sweet that it can be moved around when you feel like changing your style or changing the look of the room that you're in or have it in. It's a very basic design and suits the needs of the room as you see it. Another benefit of having a battery operated lamp is that if the power goes out and your lamp's on, your lamp will stay on. So that's pretty sweet too. One of the other functions that I'd like to talk to you about that was important for this project is the fact that this is freestanding. So not only is it battery operated, but there's no cord and there's no base, there's nothing to hang it from. It's just able to stand on its own, and it's got the base and the top are of similar shape because of it being an origami shape. Another important thing is the fact that it's a lamp. It should light up, which it does. I'll show you right here. See, it lights up. The battery's getting a little low on me, and I don't have another 9-volt battery, but it was really bright when I first started messing with this project, which is pretty cool. It actually has the ability to light up a room, not to where a 60-watt bulb would light up a room, but you can see in a dark room with it on, which is very nice. The other function that you want a lamp to perform is the fact that it goes on and off. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, it's very nice to be able to turn a light off when you're trying to go to sleep. So it has just enough ambient light to where you could use it as a nightlight if you would like, but it also has that light where if you need it to just power the room up to move around, you can do that too. Or just have it on to serve some sort of variation in your space. If you had 2 of these, one on each end of a bookshelf per se, to provide balance, but just something different as a variation to your space. And obviously you want the lamp to turn on, so you can leave it on, there's no worries there. Even though it's paper, it won't catch on fire because the LED light is very low wattage and they're low voltage, and there's no risk of fire there. Some other things I'd like to talk with you about are the materials that I used for this project. And the first material, the main material that I used, was the paper. And paper being commonly associated with origami, I thought it was the most appropriate to use for it. It's the easiest thing to fold and also come across. I have lots of paper in my house, but more specifically the white standard 8.5 by 11 printer paper is what I used for this project. The opacity, I guess I would say, of the whiteness, I was worried that the light wouldn't shine through that well, but you can see it kind of helps create a glow that you really would appreciate in a room. I know it's kind of hard to see with all the other lights on right now in this room and the TV, but the paper was really easy to work with. It was easy to fold, It was easy to press the lines in, and it came out as a great product. I do have some other feedback for myself on recommendations to do next time, such as using maybe a opaque, not opaque, but more of translucent plastic. That way it's not so, it's a little bit more durable because the paper is a little flimsy, which leads me to my next piece of material that I used, which is the tape to form the actual circle shape. Obviously, you can imagine paper being flat with a few folds, you can't make it come together. So I did use tape to tape one of the seams, which is seamless looking, and the tape was easy to fold to create a corner, so that worked out well. But what I was saying about the paper being flimsy, I used cardboard as a piece of support structure. And what I did was I took the shape, that star shape that you see of this lamp, and I set it on top of a piece of cardboard, and then I just traced the bottom out so that I could have the base shape of the lamp. And knowing that I wanted it to support the lamp, but also knowing that I didn't want to block the light from coming through the top and the bottom, I decided to cut this star shape out, 4-point star shape, and as it would be supportive at the points, I trimmed a little bit off each leg in the middle on each side of the leg so that the light could shine through when I set this inside of the structure, which it does. And that way the light could permeate through the entire lamp, and that it's not just at the top of it or not. I know it's really hard to see, but you can kind of see that the star shape doesn't take up the whole shape of it, which worked out great. The way I attached that little star-shaped piece of cardboard in there was with some super glue. And we all love super glue, it's good for everything, and it just so happens to be great for gluing cardboard to paper. And the only thing is that it had to sit overnight to set, but once it set, it was really strong, and I was able to use that same glue to glue a magnet on the bottom side of the cardboard piece, which is what's holding my battery on. So I did, once again, I didn't want to add the magnet on there and have it weigh it down, so I waited again another night for the magnet to dry before I attached the battery to it. So once I did, it held up great. The only thing is that when you set that piece of cardboard in there, you want to pre-measure to make sure that the height of your battery plus the height of the battery connector plus the height of the switch plus the height of the magnet is not going to stick out of the bottom too much. So I actually have it perfectly aligned to where the battery does not stick out, but the switch is right there, the little white circle, which I'll talk about in a minute. So after I got the magnet in place, I started thinking about the LED light and how to attach that. So one thing I did was I actually took a piece of the cable cutters that I had and poked holes in the star shape. So I poked one hole about 1 inch from the edge of one star, and then I poked another hole about 1 inch from the edge of the other side, the opposite side. And that way, when I put my light strip on there, I figured out obviously what wires were positive and negative, and I wanted to maintain that black negative, red positive lead. So once I figured that out, I soldered the wires to the LED light, and then I stuck the wires through those little holes so that the light would be on top, the wires would be on the bottom, and it would also serve, this little cardboard piece would be a way to serve as kind of blocking out the wires if you're looking down over top of it, which it did a good job at that. Once I pulled the wires through the bottom, then I, knowing which one was positive and negative, I kind of tested that on the battery. I soldered the wires to the switch, and then I soldered the switch to the wires, or I should say I soldered the wires from the battery connector to the switch, so that the battery would be in the middle of that circuit operating that on and off switch. And then I connected the battery connector to the 9-volt battery. And one thing else I did that you'll notice, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but The wires, you'll notice, are kind of curly, and that's because I knew if I left the wires straight, they would just stick out and be rigid. So I wrapped them around a screwdriver to give them that little pigtail look. That way they'd have a little give and go back up in the lamp. So when you replace the battery, whenever that is, you won't have to worry about wires sticking out. And that worked out quite nice. The next item on the list, well, the switch. I talked about connecting the switch from the wires from the LED and then connecting that to the connector. One thing I did have to do with the switch was it had two little prongs that stuck down, and I did have to bend those out of the way so that I could accomplish the way I wanted it installed on top of the connector in a way that it would be a little bit more flat, so it wouldn't be sticking out. And of course I used super glue again to glue it to the battery connector, the top of the battery connector, which maybe I should give you a little close-up view of that. You can kind of see where I connected it and glued it there. In this battery, it easily snaps on and snaps off even with the super glue, so worked out really well. And then of course you can just reinstall the battery with the magnet like that, and it won't fall out, which is great. Of course I used a few other tools during this. I used a pen to help score the shape of the folds in the origami, and some scissors to obviously cut the origami out that I didn't list, but that wasn't a part of the actual product, so that's why I didn't really talk about that. Another thing I'd like to talk about this project is the aesthetic qualities. And the first aesthetic quality about this project is that it does have a very clean look to it. It's very, well, white is always associated with being clean, right? If something's white, then it's probably not dirty. This is a consistent look. The shapes to it, the origami shape, the triangles, you can kind of see it has like a diamond shape, but all the shapes around it are all the same consistent size, which is a pleasing aesthetic of value that it has. Another aesthetic quality that it has is very sleek. It's almost a cylinder shape, like a square cylinder. I thought it was interesting that it turned into that, but it's pretty neat how modern it looks as well. Some of the impacts that this project resulted in as I was working on it, the main impact that I came across was the challenge that it brings to the market, because in my research I found that there really aren't that many really cool looking battery operated origami lamps out there. There was a dinosaur one and there was a star shaped one with some eclectic looking design on it, but it didn't look like it would go with any sort of decor. So this being white, it's plain. This is obviously the first design. There would be other options if I continued to design this product in the future, and to suit the different customer needs and requests, but this plain white design, plain simple design, freestanding battery operated, I could not find anything else like it in the market. There are a lot of other items that have cords attached, mostly, but the ones that were cordless were definitely nothing like this, so that was interesting. Another impact is that it being battery operated, you'll have a lower electric bill because you will have one less lamp plugged in providing light for you in your room. And for those people that want to be off the grid, it serves that purpose as well while still providing light, which is pretty cool. The versatility in the mobility, that's another positive impact that it had. The only negative impact I found was the durability of it, which is why I suggested using other materials next time, such as the plastic sheet that's a little translucent, that'll still show the light through it, but would hopefully cover up the electrical components inside. I also thought that maybe having some sort of plastic rod at the base or something like that going up the sides would help stiffen it up a little bit, and it might be a little cheaper than metal that I also considered. But that's it for my project, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.